Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers midweek podcast. Myself, Stevie and Kenny. Good evening, Kenny. How are we? We all right?
Yeah, not bad. Surprised the man with the hair's not here again. But yep, all good, mate. Disappointing night last night, so we're going to try and dissect that a little bit. But yeah, good to go.
Yeah, it was. It was very deflating. I did manage to get a ticket last minute, thanks to Big Craig. So thank you, mate, for that. So disappointing. Yeah, Kenny, what did you make of the team selection, first of all?
I think it was the same as every single person out there, mate. Couldn't really understand that team selection. There's a number of things that I didn't really get. The front three, I didn't understand that at all. Disappointed to see Romans and Scovolson on the bench, Nadiri on the bench. I think Danny Rule said that there's an explanation for that, but yeah, I've got to say, mate, if I'm being 100% honest, I was really disappointed in the starting 11 because I looked at the starting 11 against Queen's Park and probably against Porto to get two games where one's a dead rubber and one you could probably play your kids. And I thought they were stronger sides than the one we put out last night in a game that was absolutely vital to our season. So a bit confused, disappointing, and sad to say it. I think when we all kind of look at that and think that's not right, and you know that the right could be in the wall, it's kind of perplexing when us amateurs can see what might unfold and the manager doesn't really think that might happen. I don't know. Disappointing, mate.
Right, it was absolutely disappointing. It was absolutely disappointing. But what we're not going to do on this podcast is sit here and throw in the towel and say that Danny Rule's this, that, and everything else, and that Rangers aren't in a title fight, and Motherwell are a good side. Right? It was a very disappointing result. It was very disappointing the way it went. I, for one, thought it was a very poor starting lineup. I've got my own opinion on who should have started, but I think he got, of the three he put up front, I think the three were all wrong. So it is what it is. We'll talk about Yusuf Chimiti, we'll talk about Gassama, we'll talk about Mikey Moore. But for me, Danny Rule did get his selection wrong. And when he does that, there was an element of the wind getting taken right out of Rangers' sails. Certainly in the stands, a lot of people questioning what was going on. So that's a difficult one. Context is always vital, and we try to give it on this podcast. Motherwell are a very good side. Knocked the ball out very well. We defended really well, and they caused problems. Teams will be beaten by Motherwell this season. Hearts and Celtic have still got to play them twice each. Teams will be beaten by Motherwell. So a point in Fir Park, I understand Danny Rule's viewpoint, even if I don't agree with it. I can understand that. So we are going to have a conversation, Kenny, that looks at everything. What's your thoughts on how the game panned out and how it kind of processed throughout the game?
I thought we started well. Thought we managed to take the lead. Lovely, fantastic move, actually, cracking goal. Just immediately after Motherwell had their first real effort as well. Nico Rask and Diamandi combined really well. Good goal. I thought from there, the first half, we just proceeded to give it a lot of free kicks away. You know, I think we might come to the referee at some point, but we gave them the initiative, I felt, in the first half. I thought they're a good enough side, mate, without us not passing the ball well enough and stuff like that. So I thought we gave them the initiative, as I said, and the second half, I just thought the writing was on the wall. And if I'm going to be brutally honest about it, that's probably the first time where I've looked at Danny Rule and thought you've made a number of errors there. I thought from start to finish, just about everything that happened last night, I felt that he could have done better. That's what I would say. And with hindsight, he might well look at that in a month or two down the line, once everything settled down or at the end of the season, and say, I should have done that differently. But we all have to remember that that was the first time that he's went to Fir Park. It was a really heavy pitch. I don't know how you felt. You were at the game, Stevie, as you say, but watching it on TV, it just looked like a really wet and heavy pitch, and we did not get a passing game at all. I seen somewhere that we had a 69% success rate in our passing, which is really poor. They were way up at 80-odd%. So it kind of gives you the inclination that, or the insight, if you like, that we weren't at the races at all. I thought the tactics were all kind of wrong. Everything about it just felt wrong yesterday, Stevie. That's what I would say. And I said it after the Hibs game that I felt that was probably a point gained. I feel this is 2 points dropped at this minute in time because of the way of the nature of the last minute goal, if you like. But in the long run, it might be a point gained because, as you say, they are a fine side. And going there is going to be very tough for everybody. So we'll see how it goes. And as you say, there's nobody in here going to lob a towel in here. It's a bad night at the office. That's all it is. There's still 12 games, 13 games, whatever it is to go. 12, I think it is. Plenty of games still to go.
My thoughts from last night was that Rangers respected Motherwell far too much. The press again. You cannot have a press with Chimity in it. It doesn't work. We'll get to individuals. But that front three didn't work in the slightest for me. Midfield, for having three apparent ball winners with Diamande, Raskin and Chukwani, were just passed about. And the amount of times they got bunched up and caught and they were spreading at either side, it was really, really difficult. Scored a nice goal. We were relatively solid at the back. I thought Giga and Suter defended really well. There was a point Giga got back in the first half. Must have been Manuisi who was away, and he managed to get back and he defended really well, and I was quite comfortable. Jack had a save from a free kick, but otherwise he was okay. But we weren't offering anything going forward. Gassama on the right will come to again, but there was no movement, and that was the most troubling thing for me. Two key moments in the first half after we took the leads. Gassama has to score when Chimity has to score when he's through. And he's clean on one-on-one. There's absolutely no conviction. There's no calmness about him at all. And he messes it up. And then, Kenny, we should have had a penalty just before half-time. Okay, what anyone says. It's a clear penalty. Bundles him over. Falls all over him. And Chimity, and Stephen McLean, we don't get a thing off anyway. So they were big moments. Second half, we just didn't do anything. We just, we couldn't handle Motherwell. I'm amazed that Gassama and Chimity stayed on for as long as they did. Mikey Moore was ineffectual. And just really, really disappointing. We were far too deep. The more the game went on, the more we defended. And, to talk about Motherwell's goal, we give away two needless corners, right? And when we defend them against 10 men, there's nobody at the edge of the box. So we're all camped in, which means when we clear, it gives them the chance to recycle it and just lob it back in exactly as they did for the goal. We're not out. And I find it amazing that against 10 men in the dying embers, you're not leaving one or two up there or at the edge of the box so that when you break, you can break out and push them up. We allowed them to recycle it and play it back in. And because we were so deep, and we were, if you watch that replayed, Fernandez is beaten at the back post. Suter's standing off Wells because we're too deep. We're basically almost defending the 6-yard box. And they're just in space. And it was such a poor goal to lose, but every one of us could see it coming. And that's the most disappointing thing, Kenny. I said at the start of the week, and I remain, and the position is still the same. The only team that can stop Rangers winning this title is Rangers themselves. And last night, I thought we were negative. I thought we sat in. And I did think Danny Rule at 1-0, trying to defend that lead against 10 men, completely the wrong decision. His substitutes for me killed our momentum. Miovski and Asgard don't offer anything off the ball. And this is a game where we were getting a bit of a chasing. They were the wrong substitutes. And I think it cost us. The decision to go to 3 at the back as well, questionable. It invites pressure. Everything we did was the opposite of what I thought we should have done. I'm not a football manager. Danny Rule is, and he's pretty much got everything right so far. I think at Easter Road, he got it wrong. I think last night he got it wrong. And everybody knows that I'm a massive fanboy of Danny Rule. I won't shy away from saying, Kenny, that I feel like the result last night is on him. I thought his decision making was wrong. However, that's not me sitting here saying, get rid of Rule, sack him, we're out of a title race. It's not. It's just valid, or maybe it's not valid. It's just how I see it. Constructive criticism on the back of last night. It's far too defensive.
Far too negative for me. Everything about last night was negative, even from the pre-match interview where he turned around and says he's got an eye on Sunday. This is the same guy that said that it's one game at a time. So I found that a little bit confusing, that he's looking at both games and as a unit. I don't feel you can do that. I think you're playing against a side last night that hadn't lost a goal since October at home. So I think we were all fully aware of how difficult it was going to be in terms of the 90 minutes. It was going to be a tough 90 minutes. We all knew that and felt that it would be a massive 3 points and a kind of statement win that it would have been if we had got it. I thought that the substitution to going to the 3 at the back and the 5 at the back, I didn't mind that initially. I thought, right, okay, we're not playing well, stabilise and just take what you've got. The problem I have is that almost immediately after that, I think it was, they go down to 10 men and he should have went straight back to 4 and put the extra man in the midfield and just stifled them completely. That's what frustrated me about that last night. I also felt that even if he didn't do that, you've got 2 big guys up top. With the way they were playing through our midfield, if you're going to have 5 at the back, which I don't feel we should have had when they were down to 10, then you've got 2 monster unit guys up front, get that ball over the top and down the channels where they had brought their fullbacks so far up the pitch that the gaps were there to be exploited, and he didn't do that. So that's what I felt, that the decision making from the dugout was kind of nuts. I just felt that it's what, as I say, and don't get me wrong here, I'm not coming on here to sit and have a go at Danny Rule. Danny Rule's put us in this position, and he deserves a huge amount of credit for doing that. However, it is one of those situations last night where I just felt that the substitutions took any pace that we had on the pitch off. He didn't replace it with any pace, where he could have perhaps brought Skov Olsen or Ant-Man or both on instead of Gassama and Miovski. And I'll not buy this, and this is the problem I have, is that Ant-Man is just back, but you're not telling me that Ant-Man or Skov Olsen couldn't have come on and played 15 minutes last night. They most certainly could have. And if they couldn't play the 15, 20 minutes, Stevie, what on earth are they doing on the bench? It was the same with Romans. I thought that Jaden McComa was having a tough time. He looked shattered to me. He genuinely does at this moment in time. And I would have had him off after about an hour because he was struggling. He really was. So it's just one of those kind of things, Stevie, that you look at and you say, do you know what? You've got your point. You move on. We've got a massive game on Sunday. But for me, I'm going to ask Danny Rule quite personally here. On away performances, that's Hibs and Motherwell. But before that, we had the first half at Celtic Park, which was appalling. And we've had Tynecastle. We were 2-0 down at half time. He's going to have to find a formula that means that we go out and score goals away from home. He's got to find that, Stevie. He has got to take the handbrake off away from home a little bit. And I know it's difficult because they're different games when you're away from home, but he's going to have to find a mix there. And from here, it should be easier for him because we go down to 1 game a week from here on in, basically. But we have to improve our away form in a massive way, because if we don't, Stevie, I'm going to say right now that if we persist with the way that we're trying to play, which I feel is just far too negative, we're going to struggle to win this league. He has to try and turn these draws into wins away from home.
What frustrates me is he said all the right things. We've achieved nothing yet. It's time for us to hunt. It's time for us to to go and really kick on, and we got powder puff. And I've said it too many times so far this season that comes to sliding door moments, we don't grab them. Here's where it becomes tricky. We have to talk about individuals, Kenny. Yusuf Chermiti. Right, he's a young lad. I just don't think he's got it right. And a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about the bid that came in, or apparently the bid that came in, I said I would have drove him to the airport, no problem at all. I said it was ludicrous to turn down that money for him, and I still stand by that. Loyalty to him is costing him. I think he's a really poor player, doesn't press. I think Parkhead has saved him from being strung up basically by the support. And I think he's lazy. There was here's the difference between him and Nadiri. Multiple times last night, Mikey Moore got it at the byline, and you're looking for that run across, and he's stagnant, standing there. The time the second half when he went through and goal and he got himself in front of the man and fucking didn't take the ball with him as well. He's just very frustrating now. And I'm really trying, because I don't like to come on here and overly criticise players and stick the boot into people, and we try and look at it positively. Kenny, he can't start for me. He doesn't press. He doesn't make runs. He's never in the right place. Any chances he kind of manufacture himself by being clumsy and awkward and big, like the one that he just rattled the keeper off of. That's, he done it at Aberdeen as well when he was through, just hit the goalkeeper. The only one he's actually got it past is Kasper Schmeichel. And that's self-explanatory. It's just, honestly, he's just not for me. Nadiri is 3-4 times the striker that he is, and that's a frustration that if he had been on earlier and Mikey Moore gets to the byline and cuts them back like he did, Ryan Nadiri's on them, and that's a frustration thing. Just a total failure again on the big games from Yusuf Chermiti to start. I don't rate him. I don't want to slag him. I don't want to 2-foot him, but on what I've seen, this boy isn't good enough.
Well, I can understand fully why Danny Rule wanted to keep him, because I felt that the offer, when you're trying to replace that type of profile, I think there's very, very little of it out in the market. We've already clearly had Nadiri in our sights, and I feel that if you're going to play with Nadiri and nobody backing him up, then rather other than Majowski and Danilo, it would have been. I don't think that's strong enough either. So I cannot get why Danny Rule decided he wanted to keep him for the remainder of the season. That's not to excuse the inept performance from last night, and there's been plenty of them from him. What frustrates me more than anything else about Chermiti is that you just know he's not going to score when he goes one-on-one. There was a still on Twitter today, actually, from directly behind. Have you seen it? And you actually look at that, Stevie, and this is at the shot, sorry, to explain to the people watching here. It's a still from the Rangers' end of Chermiti standing just inside the box, and he's got either side of the goal to pick, Stevie. He's got all the time in the world. There's nobody near him. He can pick left or right, and he smashes it right into the boy's chest. It's just not good enough for a £10 million striker. It's not good enough for a Rangers striker. And that's a disappointment that you just kind of feel watching it on TV, as I was last night there, Stevie. He's not scoring. There was also 3 or 4 times in the second half where I don't know if you would necessarily would have noticed this at the game, because you obviously get a different perspective, but there was 3 or 4 times last night where Motherwell players played blind passes back, and see if he's on his toes instead of being on his heels and standing there doing nothing, he can get it, and he didn't on any occasion. It's things like that. It's the press that's the to be fair, what you said there, the press is the most discouraging thing about him. He doesn't know how to do it, Stevie. Now, we've sat here for the last couple of years with players incapable of leading a press at Rangers, and it was instant when Nadiri come on against Kilmarnock last week, and then against Queen's Park, that he knows how to press properly and lead the press. Chermiti doesn't have that in his game. So I'm not here to sit there and put the boy in the stones for the sake of it, but you can't rely on him. That's the biggest concern for me. You can't rely on this kid to get you the goals that you're going to need. So yes, there's more out there. By the way, for me, there's 3 or 4 other players here that need kind of emptied from that starting 11 at this moment in time, Stevie. It's not just him. So I'm not going to sit there and lay all the blame or all the onus on one individual, a young kid still trying to learn the game. But there's others there that should be doing a lot better as well.
Yeah, one of them is JD Gassama, Kenny. We have to discuss him. He played more games than he has done at any point. Right, we understand that. I'm starting to get a real issue with this boy's attitude. And I really like him. And I said it a couple of weeks ago, I really like him because I like that kind of tricky kind of winger type. I think his attitude is rotten. He's lazy, doesn't run the lines. If you noticed, Suter, we often go Butland, Suter, Tav. Tav looks for the run down the line to try and get up the line. No movement, no running. It would come to him. He'd play back. Motherwell would win the ball back, setting us that trap. And this is what I talked about, and people might go back to what I said in Ranger Review and what I said Monday night and stuff like that, is that when we were playing against Queen's Park, in context is it's Queen's Park, Ant-Man on the left, Scott Olsen on the right, were completely different. There was trickiness, there was Moore floating in about and being able to cause that overload. Ruman's running from the left. We had runners, we had that aggression, we had the forward play, we had everything there. And you looked at it last night and we were flat. There was very little direction. There was very little invention. And I just thought players were lazy, and that was really frustrating. And one of the main culprits, again, is Jerry Gassama. If we're talking about Chermiti coming out the lineup, Jerry Gassama most certainly has to come out of there as well, Kenny. Really sorry to say. And again, I'll say that I like him. He's a Rangers player. Look, we all want him to do well. Attitude lately, his face when he gets subbed off and all that kind of petulance pish. Not for me. He's a young boy. We've given him a huge opportunity. And at the moment, for me, he's not performing the way he does, or the way he should, rather. Oliver Ant-Man comes in for me again. And I said it yesterday on the review. Somebody asked me as well. I'm not an expert. I'm a supporter like everybody else. So I've got my own opinion. As you know, you could put 1,000 of us in the room and you get 1,000 different opinions. I would have went Ant-Man, Moore, Scott Olsen, and Nadiri. That's what I would have went with. I don't buy the sports science stuff and everything else. I would have started Nadiri even if I only get 50 minutes out of him. Gassama, nope, not on the same pitch, I'm afraid. So really disappointed by him. I don't mind players having bad games. I don't mind players not being able to perform, not moving, not running, not putting in a shift, not tracking back, the half-pace jog, everything else. No, that's just not going to do for me, Kenny, I'm afraid.
It's the lack of a performance for me more than anything else. His demeanour's disgusting at times, actually. The way there was a point in the first half where Stephen McLean gave a free kick to Motherwell, and just inside their half, and he stands across the ball so he can't play it, and Stephen McLean tells him to move and brings the ball across, and he said, "It's not there, it's over there." And Stephen McLean said, "Look, it's there, and that's it. It's not there, it's here." And it's the back chat for no reason. Just get on with the game. Now, I didn't like that last night. I really didn't like the. Now he's done this a few times. We've seen it before, but see when his number comes up. Do you know what I really don't want to see? And it just gives Motherwell all the encouragement that you need. Is when the wee petted lip comes out, and he's been told to hurry up and get off the pitch, and he meanders across and Stephen McLean eventually does that, I'm going to add it on. Now, the problem with that, Stevie, is that what a referee is going to do there, he's not going to add the 30 seconds. He's going to add a minute and a half on. He's going to add an extra minute on. Now, we were struggling as it was without actually giving him. And by the way, Chermiti and Diamandi both did exactly the same thing, crawling off that pitch. It is a bad example for a Rangers player to show. I don't want to see that from a Rangers player. I'm not asking you to sprint off, but pretend that you're jogging, and if nothing else, get your body language right when you're a Rangers player, because our body language last night was shocking. Absolutely shocking. All of them, not just Gassama, but he epitomised it at that point. Now, on his performance, Stevie, I'm not as big a fan of him as you are. I know you like him as a player. I've not been convinced. By that first 4 or 5, 6 weeks that he started and he was on fire. I think wingers are like that, mate. Wingers will come in streaks and, you know, they have hot flushings of form and all that kind of stuff. But since then,
I just jump in to make a really quick point. I was really surprised last night by the levels of criticism for Jerry Gassama and the amount of people around me openly saying that boy's pish and he shouldn't be starting for me. I found that really surprising. I consider myself to be quite in touch with where we are, but the attitude in the stands towards him last night was very telling for me, Kenny. And these are guys that go, I've missed maybe 4 away games this year, something like that. So I wouldn't say I'm not like one of the diehards that go everywhere, but I get to as many as I possibly can. And that's the first time I've heard that. So it was interesting, just as a wee side point. So the attitude that I have towards Gassama, maybe I've been a wee bit fanny dazzled by the goals and stuff like that, because everybody else doesn't really hold him to the same regard as what others do in the stand. That's for sure.
You are easy fanny dazzled, to be fair, mate. So let's move on. It's again, I'm not here to sit and stick the boot into one individual, because they were all rotten last night. I thought, bar perhaps Suter, Giga, Raskin and Diamandi, I thought that there wasn't any of the rest of them you would give more than 4 or 5 out of 10, mate. I thought they were just poor on the night, all of them. My main concern about the front three, I'm going to put it into the front three. Mikey Moore is not a left winger and he is not a right winger. He is without shadow of a doubt better through the centre, through the middle. You've got to play him through there if you're going to play him at all. If you're going to bring him on as an impact, then I can understand, slightly bringing him out to play wide. But if you're going to start him, you need to start him in the 10. Chermiti's not the answer, we know that. And Gassama is, for me, as I say, I'm not as convinced as others have been. But for me, it's a lack of application, it's a poor attitude, and it's that petted lip. And as I say, more than anything else for me, mate, it's that attitude when he was coming off the pitch that absolutely pissed me off last night, because I thought all you're doing is giving Motherwell even more encouragement, because we're wasting time, we're doing that, we're standing over the ball, all the things that they ask you that their manager kind of complained about, which I found slightly ironic. But anyway, that walking off the pitch that slowly tells Motherwell they're just wasting time. They're playing for time. They don't fancy it. Everything about it is bad karma for me. And ultimately, we got what we deserved. And as I say, he kind of epitomised the bad attitude last night for me.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something. First of all, we don't come on this show to talk about anything other than Rangers, and we hold Rangers accountable for our results. But I need to talk about Stephen McLean last night, Kenny. This is not the first time. We had them Hearts at home earlier on in the season. Shankland handballs should never have counted. I think Giga scored for us in the second half and it was disallowed. And then there's the phantom penalty that Hearts got for the second goal, which I think split decision. It wasn't for me against Diamandi. Hearts won that game 2-0, sliding doors moment in the season. Stephen McLean last night, how he missed that tackle on Mikey Moore and adjudged it not to be a red card was awful. I done 10 years as an amateur ref, and I knew instantly that was a red card. I was with Catherine Hill last night, Rangers women's centre half, and we were standing together, Sarah as well, and we all said the same thing. That's a red card straight away. Kath obviously played the game. She knows immediately that's a red card. We all knew it was going to be a red card around us. That pace, that straight leg, out of control. It's a really bad challenge. He gives a yellow. We should have had a penalty. I'll say it again. The foul on Chermiti, just bundled over him. I noticed there's no outcries and things today about that kind of thing. So I thought Stephen McLean, really poor night at the office. Once again, Rangers are on the end of some poor decisions. I don't think he was great overall in the game at all, really. But he's cost us with a couple of big decisions. These are simple ones. That tackle's a clear red card. So I don't like to make it, and I'm certainly not saying that he's the reason. But we've had more big decisions again in a really big game going against us. VAR saves him on the Moore thing. Where were VAR when Chermiti's getting bundled over in the first half? Because that's a penalty for me.
The Chermiti one is a penalty because the boy makes no attempt to play the ball. He goes right through the back of Chermiti. Chermiti goes down. Now, does he go down easy? Maybe. Doesn't really matter. It's a foul. The issue I've got with Stephen McLean is the arrogance of the guy. It just oozes out of him when he's refereeing. He's the type of guy, when I was playing football, mate, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but I'd want to rattle him. That's the way I would be. I just can't go people that are that arrogant. And even when he sent the boy off, didn't even come, take the yellow card and give him a red. It was just straight red, no words, no nothing, just and this point and stuff like that. He's just such an arrogant human being, and that's the way he comes across. But he's also an absolutely shit referee. He's terrible. And he's always been terrible. The book, exactly what Tam's saying there, the deal, Diamandi yellow card is pathetic. They've had 3 Stonewall yellow cards before Diamandi gets a yellow card. And all Diamandi does is go across the guy. He doesn't even particularly, it's not physical in any way. He just goes across the guy and gets a yellow card for it. And it's an instant thing where he also booked Nico Raskin. Now, Nico Raskins is probably a little bit more understandable because Nico had 4 or 5 fouls by that point, but he is actually stifling the way that you can play the game. He actually was a perfectly good advantage for Motherwell at one point that he brought back for no particular reason, and then explained it to all the Motherwell players. Rangers player tried to ask, and he was like telling them to go away. You're like, well, how are you telling one set of players but no the other? It's mad. But the biggest thing for me is that I am now sick to the back teeth, Stevie, of watching our players getting fucking leathered by opponents and referees taking the easy option and going yellow card and let VAR have a wee look at that. And it's so blatant and it's so obvious now that they don't want to give the opposition anything. Or they don't want to give anything against the opposition that Rangers are playing because they know the stick they're going to get, and it's pathetic now. That red card is so blatant, Stevie, that I'm sure you've seen it back, but there is not a player anywhere within 10, 12 yards of either of them. He is high, he is at full pace, he's straight-legged, it's above the ankle, and the ball's about 4 yards away. It is absolutely nuts that any referee anywhere on this earth, Stevie, can look at that and say that's a yellow card. So to me, there is no accountability for referees when this stuff's happening. But he'll go on to referee a game at the weekend in the Premier League and get his £1,500 for it or whatever it is. It is absolutely outrageous, Stevie. that these guys are doing this on a weekly basis. And it's not just us. Before anybody sits and thinks we're just having a rant, we see this all the time, week in, week out, across the country. They are not fit for purpose. And it is high time that Willie Collum, who is in charge of these referees, was ousted. Get this man out and get the standards raised, because you can't have people putting leg-breaking tackles at folk for a referee to go, it's only yellow. It's madness, Stevie. It is.
Yeah, we're giving that more time than it really should have got. Biggest issue for me last night, Kenny, is that we've lost the momentum which we had. 2 good wins. It was a real feel-good factor. Do I think it's went over the top today? Yes, I absolutely do. I don't think we're in a position here to be shouting about Danny Rule in any way, really. Did he make mistakes last night? Yeah, he did. I think there needs to be a level of calm. It's changed the dynamic, though. We're 5 points behind Hearts in the other game in hand. We absolutely must beat them on Sunday. There's no other way about it. So we absolutely have to win that game. The dynamic changes for us. The momentum's lost. Rangers could regain the momentum if they go and win on Sunday. It's one of those ones where we've went from Ibrox being a powder keg of emotion and like a European night to a game that I think it'll be quite tense, because we know we have to go and win. So we need to go and win that game. And yeah, that's a difficult position to be in. But it's Ibrox and it's home. It should have been a must win anyway. So we have to go and win that game.
Yeah, of course we do. We're not at the stage, Stevie, where any mistake or any drop points are going to be amplified. It's going to get magnified, because we're desperate for this. But then again, so are Hearts fans.
Sorry, Kenny, one second. Hearts don't have a game in hand. I beg your pardon. I got that wrong. It's Celtic who have the game in hand. I beg your pardon. Sorry, folks. I had a moment there. I beg your pardon. We're 5 points behind now. We had to win last night. Was our fuck it, never. I made an arse of it.
I believe it or not, I thought that's what you meant. That when you said they had a game in hand, I thought you were being slightly derogatory. I'll try that again. Derogatory towards them. No, again, it's just one of those situations we're in, Stevie. Did Danny Rule have a bad night at the office last night? Yeah, but we all have bad nights, bad days at work. So he's entitled to make mistakes. It's just the way life is. You can't go day in, day out perfect. My issue with what's happened last night is that he got absolutely everything wrong. That's kind of where I see it. That everything that could go wrong kind of went wrong for him last night, from team selection, interviews, tactics, game management, everything, substitutions, everything about it just kind of didn't work. But it's a game of football, and sometimes the players have to hold their hands up as well and say, but honestly, when your players can't pass a ball 5-10 yards at times, there's not an awful lot he can do. If he's trying to implement a game plan and the players are not at it at all, which, as I say, I thought there was only 3 or 4 of our players managed to get pass marks last night. So it's difficult for a manager to turn around and get what he wants out of it. But I thought it was far too negative, and that's where my concern is, that it's away form. The home form and the game on Sunday takes care of itself, because it's such a massive game, and that's what you're talking about, is gaining the momentum back. That's where I'm a bit peed off, is that we Hibs last week, and then this, we've lost the momentum that we had. We really have lost that. Momentum is now shifted towards Celtic, probably more than anything else, if you're being honest, and it's us that have to turn around and win that momentum back. The first thing we have to do is claw Hearts back. Then it really is, from that instant on, it becomes a 3-horse race, Stevie, and it really does. So that's where I'm looking at this, and it's got to be a kind of must-win, because you would fully expect Celtic to go down to Kilmarnock and take care of them. And that's all respect to Kilmarnock.
I'm not sure that Celtic at home to Livy last night, who are bottom of the league and not a good side, sneaked it. Livy almost took points off Hearts a couple of weeks ago, Kenny. There's nothing set in stone in this league. I think the next thing we need to do is win Sunday. We were always going to have to do that. So beat Sunday, put a marker down, and then we go and try and beat them in a couple of weeks, that'll be right upon us. So listen, that's why I was trying to give context. As much as we've dissected it last night and we have criticised Rule and we've criticised some of the players, they have a chance to immediately put it right. I'm not one for throwing in the towel. We said it straight away, we're not going to. I'm not one for shouting about Rule, this, that, whatever. Do we want them to win, to learn lessons, Kenny? Yeah, I think we absolutely do. I would, ahead of Sunday. Nadiri starts for me. Ant-Man starts on the left. Scove Olsen comes in on the right. Chukwani and Diamande probably favourites to start in midfield. Mikey Moore 10. There's a lot of decisions. Tav wouldn't start for me again. Sterling probably does. Romans most certainly comes in on the left back. Fernandez comes in. Giga done all right last night. So centre back, you need to wait and see. Jack obviously starts. There's a few positions. Rangers need to go and get that momentum back and win that game. We're not talking about it being all lost, Kenny. Certainly not. But that's just, a review of last night. If we came on here and said we would accept a draw, then I understand why Rule's saying it. But it's unacceptable to draw a game for me when you're against 10 men and you invite it on the way we did. If they'd caught us by a sucker punch of a crappy corner, then maybe. But I thought genuinely that we caused our own issues last night by being overly negative. So go and get that back on Sunday, and it gets the feel good factor going again, and we can set us up. So we can certainly still play a major part in this.
Of course we can. Anybody thrown in a towel is off their absolute trumpet. You need to be crazy. If we win in Sunday, we're 2 points behind with 11 games to go. There's still so much football to get played, and you'll be 2 points behind at that particular point. And as we've already said, everybody's got to play each other. Those, Hearts and Celtic have both got to play Motherwell twice. They've got Hibs to play. They've got to go to St Mirren. It's all these. There's no easy games in this league this season. It is that simple. And there'll be more points dropped with all three sides. Of that, there's no doubt. Now, I watched the Edinburgh Derby, and it was ranked rotten, and Hearts were ranked rotten, but they've won, and that's the difference. That's where the momentum has shifted this week, where the two of them are scoring goals in the last couple of minutes of their games, and we've lost a goal, and the momentum and the deflation that we all feel because of that. But there'll be more twists and turns, and I'm absolutely buzzing for Sunday. I think it'll be a cracking game. I think that it will be tense, as you say. I don't think it'll be quite as raucous at the start of the game as it might have been if we had the opportunity to go top of the table. I think there'll be more of a kind of nervy atmosphere. But trust me, if we can get on the front foot and start well, the place will be bouncing, Stevie, and Hearts will have a tough time of it. Of that, I have no doubt. And the only reason I'm saying that about Kilmarnock, by the way, at the weekend, is because I was talking to a number of St Mirren fans who were either at their game last night, where they get beat by 4-3 by Kilmarnock, or were watching it, and they said that it was absolutely houfing. It sounds like a cracker. They said it was a horrendous game of football, believe it or not. They ended up 4-3. So he said that they were all saying that both teams were rotten. That's why I said that. But you never know. I mean, go down onto that plastic pitch down there. Neil McCann is certainly getting a turn out of them. That's for sure. So, but bring on Sunday, Stevie, and we're all negative. We're all disappointed this midweek, because of the circumstances that we found ourselves in. We've lost that momentum, as we said. But let's look positive to this and understand that if we can get that win on Sunday, we are very, very, very much in a title race again, and we're still in it. Even if we don't, we'd still be in it. But it's just going to make it much, much harder if we don't. So let's go and get the 3 points. And the last thing I'd say about Danny Rule is go and find a formula to win away games, because that's where it's going to be won and lost for me. I think Ibrox will take care of itself, mate.
Yeah, that's it. I think the word on the podcast is deflated, but we're certainly not dispirited or downbeat, that's for sure. Huge thanks to everybody that has watched this evening, everybody that's commented, everybody that's liked. If you're on YouTube and you haven't, please like and subscribe. We're well past now 12,500 subs, which is incredible. Thank you, everyone. If you want to join the podcast and be a member, you can do. A QR code, which I'm about to bring up. If you scan that, you can become a member of the podcast and get access to extra shows. You can come on Four Lads. You can watch all the shows ad-free as well. So please consider doing that. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Fire Protection and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, our very own Candid, and our local dark shop online Sunday sponsor. Huge thanks to everybody. We're back Friday night, Kenny. Somebody's on, aren't they? Somebody's on Friday night.
Somebody will be on a Friday, I'm not sure. Yep. Andrew will be on, I'm sure, but I don't know who he's on with.
Yep. And then we'll be back. Kenny and I are on the gantry on Sunday. We'll be back gantry duty, and then there will be a Sunday show as well, looking back on that Hearts game. I think Andy's hosting that, so we'll see who's on with him. Huge thank you again to everyone. We really appreciate it. Go and have a great weekend, folks. Join us on tomorrow night. Go and have a nice Thursday. I think there's football on tonight, isn't there? Maybe Arsenal are playing. Arsenal playing.
They are. So, it's just started 2 minutes in.
There you go. Perfect. Go and watch that. The huge thank you, folks. Take care. Bye for now and have a great evening.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.